mere amen won't do it unless we put action.
Correct.
Greater things, yes, we expect in the future, but at the same time, we see the responsibility lies on our shoulders. The task that we have is such a great task because I'm talking about fathering the next generation. Youth are precious, children are precious, as the Bible says. And we say that they are the hope of the future. As our national hero would always say, ano yung sabi niya? Ang kabataan ang pag-asa ng bayan. Yes, it is very true. And if they are the hope of the future, future will truly come. Hindi maaaring hindi. But the only question is, when that future comes, which are the youth, the children, what future will bring to us? That's why the responsibility lies on our part. Here, sa ating kalagitnaan, who among you will, I would say you are in the youth group? Mga bata, kabataan. Okay. May confusion. Who among you will admit you are an adult? No, wala. Well, whether we admit it or not, the responsibility lies on our shoulders. We are to face it, we are to do it, because that future ay darating at darating. And to be as adults, kailangan natin makapit ating wala natin. First thing, for all of us, everything we do today affects the next generation. Admit it or not, it is. It will affect the next generation. That's why the challenge for all of us is we are to continue to plant good seeds on their lives, in their lives. And in due time, we will reap the good harvest. The most common verse of scripture being used in training the children, you know this very well, in Proverbs chapter 22 and verse 6. What does it say? Train up a child in the way he should go, so that when he grows old, he will not depart from it. That's the work we now face. Training them, implanting into them, imbibing into them, in their lives rather, the ways and the principles of God. And so that they will know those things that are helpful for them. They know what they are going to do in their lives. Meaning that we are to devote ourselves in teaching and training, discipling, disciplining. Discipling is disciplining our young people, our children. And it's not something that is optional on our part. It is a choice we need to make. It is a mandate of God. In Deuteronomy chapter 6, if you have your scripture, Deuteronomy chapter 6, a very common scripture also. In verses 4 to 9. Hear, O Israel, we call this the Shema of Israel. The Lord is one God. The Lord is one. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your might. He said, these words which I am commanding you today shall be on your heart. He was speaking to the parents, speaking to the adults, to the elders. And then he said in verse 7, you shall teach them whenever you want. Right or wrong? You shall teach them diligently to your sons, and you shall talk of them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. Balot up. It's like embracing them. It's like, walang binibigay na space as far as the ways of the world is concerned. It's pretty serious that we as parents, being mandated by God, ay kailangan gawin to. You shall bind them as a sign on your hand, and they shall be as portals in their forehead. You shall write them on the doorpost and on your gates. What a task that we have as leaders, as adults, as parents. Why? Of course, I will not take much of that. I'll take much of time. In Psalm 78, basically tells us the same. Psalm 78. Says, listen, O my people, to my instruction. Incline your ears to the words of my mouth. I will open my mouth in a parable. I will utter God's sayings of old, which we have heard and known, and our fathers have told us. And we will not conceal them from their children, but tell to the generation to come the praises of the Lord, and His strength, and His wondrous works that He has done. This is our workload. We are to tell them, we are to teach them, we are to let them know, retell them if need be. The things of God, things we have learned, things of the Scriptures, things that we have heard and learned as parents, as adults, that we are to share it to them, to the children. And it says to us in verse 5, they should teach them to their children, verses of brother, that the generation to come might know, even the children yet to be born, that they may arise and tell them to the children, that they should put their test, or they should put their confidence in God and not forget the works of God, but keep His commandments. But verse 7 tells us three things why we need to teach them and train them. First, it says, they should put their confidence in God. At their early age, we are to teach them about God. Not about the heroes or what do you call this? All of those things that we've heard from Bishop Dick, I'm glad he told it. But we are to teach them faith, trust in God, putting confidence in God in their life, not putting the trust in man, in the ability of man, in education per se, in the things that man can achieve in this life. He says that they may have confidence in God. Secondly, that they will not forget the works of God. That's one of the weaknesses of man. We easily forget. Like the Israelites, they were in jubilation after crossing the Red Sea because of the miracle of the Word of God in their lives. They were dancing. They were praising God. But after a while, when they go through the wilderness experience, they kept on murmuring. They forgot all about what God has done for them. All they can see, all they can speak out is Moses' error, Moses' mistake. They focus on the wrong rather than the things of God. Thirdly, that she says that they may keep His commandments, that they may learn to obey. All these are works God has called us to do as leaders, as parents, as adults. However, if there is one, not basic, but prime element as far as training and preparing the next generation is concerned, then we as parents, we have heard this from the patriarch of the last portion of this teaching, that we need to, ibigay ng gusto, is sacrifice. Because sacrifice is a necessary component for raising up the next generation. Without which, we cannot see them as the good future, or they will not be able to fulfill their destiny that God is calling to do, as God has planned for them. We need to really make sacrifices, just the way the Father made His sacrifice. He sent His own Son. He gave His life. I mean, we call this the sacrificial act of God. Sacrificing His own Son. And that sacrifice of His own Son brought about, as compared and as against the old generation that were rebellious and kept on murmuring against God and against Moses, Jesus has been sacrificed by the Father. His sacrifice brought about the generation of the upright. He paid the price, the dear price. Yun din po ang kailangan natin gawin. He did everything He can for our sake. When He was here on this earth, He did His training, His home assignment, training the disciples themselves. You know that. The disciples in turn, and trained men in their time. We've got the church fathers, the early Christians, and so on, until the gospel arrived in our time. Faith came in our time because somebody paid the price. Somebody gave their lives for our sake. And this sacrifice is characterized really by shedding of the blood. Meaning, we are to share our own life. We are to give of our own time, our own life for their sake, the children's sake. Sacrificing ourselves. Sacrificing our time. Sacrificing our comfort for the sake of the children. Because they are important to all of us, especially as parents. My son is studying in Manila. And like typical students, typical son, he had problems in life. He goes through life, And so one time he called me or texted me or something. He goes through problem of bigat. And so I did it twice. I went to Manila just for the purpose of having time with him and talk with him, just for 30 minutes. Nagbiyahe ako from San Pablo to Manila. Hindi nga lang. He thought na lang ako pupuntahan and gagawin. But I sat down with him, we ate together, and binigyan ako ng payo sa kanya. In 30 minutes, and then katapos naman, I went back to San Pablo. Because I felt the need to go. Just to be with him. Are you there? Because his life, or our children's life, are important. Right? They each are part such a sacrifice. Paul said in 1 Thessalonians chapter 2 and verse 8, he says, we endeavor to share with you not only the gospel, but even our own life. It is giving ourselves without reservation. Sacrifice. Let me go to you, Mother Teresa. You can read this. The sacrifice to be real must cost, must hurt, must empty ourselves. Because it's giving of self without reservation. For the sake of the future, for the sake of the children. Meron tayong kasabihan, when you plant a seed, single seed, we cannot tell, we cannot know kung gaano karaming ang mga bunga na pwedeng ibunga ng isang single seed. If we will only give up our lives. I would say our general problem today, okay, is we have what we call a generation gap. Meron tayong generation gap. Of course, we have people here, young people today that are loving the Lord and serving God. But how many of the young people in general have the same passion? There are so many young people today. That's why we need to reach out to them. Many of our young people today are not as loving as far as God is concerned. They don't have the passion, the love for God. In fact, to many of them, God is like an alien. Not as devoted to the church. Not as devoted to their ministry. Not as passionate in their commitment. Not as enthusiastic in mission and evangelism. We have to have the heart for them so that they can learn the ways of God, they can learn to love God, that they have the passion for God, have the passion for the ministry, the passion for mission. That gap has to be ended. Has to be removed. The only way it can is when we seriously do our best. Especially as parents, I'm focusing more on adults and parents, our responsibility. Now, everybody knows that in Genesis, God created man according to His image and likeness. Am I right? And from that point on, man was doing well. He was, everything all around him was perfectly well. But until one day he got tired of serving God and believing God and worshiping God, and he rebelled against God, in other words. And in Genesis chapter 3, there was the fall of man. And in that fall, one day, Adam was found hiding behind a tree. And God asked the question. Now, you may think God was really hiding behind a tree, that God did not see him. No. What was the question you think God asked? Adam, where are you? Is Adam really missing us? And literally missing? Nawawala. And I mentioned that today we have a generation gap. It means that Adam was no longer the man He created him to be. Well, at first glance, because we have a generation gap today, and our young people today, most of them, not all of them, are not that passionate as others do. You may think, it's the young people He is asking the question to. Where are you? Well, at first glance, yes, it may seem like He is looking for those young people. But if you will investigate it carefully, that question that He asked is addressed to the adults, to the parents, to the leaders. Where are you? The missing link that had caused the gap today, basically, are the parents or the leaders. Why? Because we have stopped training our children. We have stopped training our youth. We rather have hired, no, I'm not against schools, but I'm not talking about, sending them just to school, to the schools. That many parents could, could hardly wait na sila yung naging 3 or 4 or 5 years old and send them to schools because sila magtuturo sa aking mga anak. And the world and the society around us. And so that they can foster, they can teach our children. And basically, we have made them our spiritual yaya, the spiritual yaya of our children. Well, simply because many of us would say we're too busy, we have lots of commitments, responsibilities, kailangan trabaho ng asawa, and etc. So, we need some help, and so they did help us, and we have to go abroad and work abroad, etc. To do the work for us. Well, you and I know that the mandate of God is for us to teach our children. That's why we heard and we read from Deuteronomy and Proverbs and Psalm 78. It is our task. Our task is fathering the next generation. Do you agree? Do you agree? Yes. Now, may I ask, siguro naman ngayong pagding mo nagsasagot, sino ang mga adults? When I say adult, I was in bababa ako. Okay, when I hear it, 30 years above. Ayan, yung pala naman, honest yung pala naman. That is our task. God is calling us back to our post. Or otherwise, we'll keep on hearing and ringing in our ears God's question, where are you? Why? Because God is saying, those young people out there, no one is, sharing the scriptures to them. No one is handling the responsibility of taking care of them and teaching them and so on and so forth. And God would want us to go back to our post, to responsible parenthood, to fathering the next generation as leaders. And parenthood is, I would say, iconic in its nature. Iconic in the sense that we as parents, if we want to see the next generation as one marked by godliness and obedience, we must be willing to do the tedious work. If we believe that they are our future, if we believe that God has prepared a plan for them, a good plan for them, and for all of us, of course, if we believe that they are the next generation who will take care of the church, and they are, and they will. But how will they be able to do something if they are not prepared? Our task is to prepare them. Our task is to make inputs, plant into them these ways and these principles that we have heard and learned from the Word of God. Tedious, yes. Mahirap talaga and as far as in the natural concept of training is concerned. But that's how, and the only way we will be able to prepare them. Teaching them not only by our words, and this is most challenging, teaching them by our modeling. All parents that are here, all adults that are here are models. Whether we accept it or not, we are models. Our children look up to us. They see us every day. They watch our words, our actions, our decisions that we make. We basically model for them. But more so when we are aware of our responsibilities, not that we are to be overly conscious, okay, or overacting, but we know we are to teach them. and we teach them by our life. Yes, we are not perfect. It doesn't take for us to be perfect for us to be good teachers to our children. But at least they know when we fail sa buhay, we know how to get out. That's modeling. When we were in Gingo, ilang beses ko nakita sa highway. Okay? Saan doon nakasulat? Failure is a success when you have learned from it. Meaning, don't be afraid to fail in life, but make sure we learn from that. And for the children, ang hirap lang kasi tayo pagkat sa mga bata na parang tayo ay worthless. Hindi nagkakamali yung tatay ko, yung nanay ko, magaling na mga yan talaga. God mo, hindi nagkakamali. Oo. Malaki ng pagkakamali. Just be what we are. But those things are ways, I'm not emphasizing here on failures, but just one of the ways. Kung tayo takot-matakot ka mag-fail. But yun po ang ating responsibility. Yun po ang ating task na ating dapat ay totoong bigyan ng pansin. And there is one thing, primary thing that we need to teach the children based on what we read from the scriptures. We need to teach them to obey the Lord. That's primary. We need to teach them to obey the Lord. The reason why Jesus came on this earth as the Son of God is so that He can teach all of us how to be a son. Because the word son, or the word child, the word son, implies obedience. That's what the son is. Jesus came down on the earth and said, I did not come to do my own will. I did not come to do my own will, but the will of Him who sent me. I'm sure as a man, he was tempted to do his own thing many times in life. He was tempted in all ways, in all means. Yet, he did not succumb to those temptations. Because he did not want to be in rebellion with the Father. He said, I do always what the will of the Father, what the Father tells me to do. And obedience, at the same time, is a matter of the heart. It's a matter of the heart. You remember what the patriarch quoted yesterday and even this morning? The heart. The heart. That is what God wants from all of us, especially to our children. We want to plant it. We want to imbibe sa kanila. First thing they need to learn is to obey. What was God's commandment? Summary of the law. He says, if you want them to learn, the first thing they need to learn is love the Lord your God with all your heart. Obeying His voice and love your neighbor as yourself. That when they do things in their lives, learn to do things in their lives, and do whatever they do, that God is telling them to do, they will realize in their hearts, they have a consciousness, I am doing all these things because I love the Lord. I sacrifice my time because I love the Lord. I go to the service because I love the Lord. I will go to the mission because I love the Lord. I will do all those things because I love the Lord. And loving our neighbor means service. Service to our neighbor. Helping, supporting. Many people today, or many young people today, parang bago sila mautusan, parang bang may bayad. Mamaya ka, galing tayo. Tayo sa Starbucks, sige, ganito yan. But with condition, wala na yung talagang totoong pag-ibig sa Diyos. That's why we need to, return to our post as parents and as adults para maibalik natin yung ganong klase ng mga kabataan who really love the Lord with all their heart. They will not be afraid to continue the ministry, to do the work of the ministry. They will not be afraid to go out of the field, to go out there. Katulad ng ginawa ng mga nauna, like Bishop Ramundo and Archbishop Dick and the rest of you as priests and ministers of God. I was sent to San Pablo. Wala nang pinadala sa akin. I just went to San Pablo because I love God.
Praise God.
When I was first sent to Olongapo, oh wow, kung sino yung mga mahilig sa... That's a good place. Then, because anong una akong assignment ko sa pastoral work in Olongapo, para akong buhay hari. Magpe-preach lang ako. All I have to do is just preach. Walang gagawin. Basta wag lang ako magkakaroon ng vision sa simbahan, dali ko simbahan sa ganung direksyon. Basta ganun lang gagawin ko, yung sabi sa akin. Every month, way back 1986, 4,000. Malaki ang 4,000 way back 86. Where pa ang love offering. Basta kailangan nila. But I did not like it. I trained the young people, they were my workforce sa jail. They were talagang workforce na sa bahay. But until dumating yung panahon sa Lord, this is not the way it is. Yes, sino bang ayaw ng pera? But I know that within me, that is not what is going to bring fulfillment in my heart. And one day, I called the Deacon Raul then, and I said, hindi ko na kung Deacon Raul na. Hindi ba? Sabi ko, ayaw ko na dito. Bakit? Bakit ayaw mo? Ayaw ko na, I cannot do it. I was so suppressed. Hindi pwede magawa ng plano para sa simbahan. It is not what I want. And after a week, karoon ng conference sa Villavicencio. And it was then that si Father Rubén was saying, yeah, si Pastor Rubén. Siya is about to be pulled out. He pastored there for 6 months, I think. Stayed for 6 months. And he was to be pulled out kasi dadali niya sa Hong Kong. Where? I don't know. And he basically was my mentor for 1 week. And binigay sa akin ng responsibility as a pastor. Wala akong alam. Alam ko na yung gala ko ng CTC. Ang alam ko experience ko, bagong study, meron ko na bagong study dyan sa Las Piñas. Pulang lupa, may mga pulang lupa dyan. And I have to spend my own money, travel pupunta doon, papunta ko doon, pupuntahan ko, naglalaba. But I have to wait. Sabi ko, naglalaba kami, pero I have to wait. Kasi ang hirap, mamasayang na doon eh. I don't need law. Tuloy-tuloy lang. But they have to learn those days from us as adults. Kailangan tayo po ay marunong talaga ibigay ang buhay natin sa kanila because nakasala na yan sa ating mga kamay. We teach them by what we do. So we can truly prepare them their place, take their place in the kingdom. Men and women na kailangan natin tulungan so that we can make sure na talagang ang simbahan, today's it marks 40 years looking backwards. But we have to set our heart another 40 years looking forward. Binibigyan ko yung kanina ay 58 na plus 40. 98. Ano? Hindi dahil sa tayo wala ng convocation the next coming years. But surely, after 40 years, we will have convocation, national territorial convocation once again. And we will make this up. Hopefully. Sa taas sa atin. But kailangan din ang puso natin. Our purpose is continuity. We need to see the work of Christ continuing, fulfilling the task God has called us to do, His ministry, kahit ano mangyari, tuloy-tuloy. Advancing the kingdom of God. In Psalm 110, last verse. Psalm 110. And verse 3. That's why we need to do our assignment, our work, as far as training them is concerned. He says, okay, let me read first verse 1. The Lord says to my Lord, sit at my right hand until I make your enemies a footstool for your feet. And the Lord will stretch forth your strong scepter from Zion, saying, rule in the midst of your enemies. Then verse 3. Your people will volunteer freely in the day of your power, in holy array from the womb of the dawn. Your youth to you as the Jew. Meaning, dito may nakalagay na sinabing, dawn, womb of the dawn. That's new life. Buhay. Okay? Pintig na buhay. And the youth here, if they are trained very well, taught very well, learned the truths and the principles and the ways of God, and they practice all these things that we are talking about, one day, these young people will array us, will adorn us. In other words, maipagmamalaki natin sila. Patriarch, he was sharing with us before Father Don left this earth. Wala na siya. He sat down with Father Don, and Father Don asked him a very serious question. Patriarch, would you promise me that you will build this church, CEC? Okay? Where they will be taught the ways and principles and the things of God, and that the children will grow in the things of God. And God, these children, they can be, the people that I can be proud of. His patriarch said, yes, I will. That's his coming. And the way to build the church is to build the young people. Yes. There's no other way. To give of our lives to them. To love them, to care for them, because they are the future of CEC. Thank you.